Is Jerick McKinnon your number one pickup? That and more tonight. It's the Roto Hackers podcast, video podcast. We haven't actually put it on iTunes in years, but here we are. My name is Judah Buddha. I'm here with It's Jared, and he is the I almost said ultimate stud, but it's not that.
It's fun too, but it's technically it's absolute stud. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. If we want to double check, we could just go to our listener league and look at the team that's at the top of the standings there, and we could just double check to see what the word is we used.
Yes. How quick they shall fall. Anyway, so we want to talk about. Well, I want to get your take on how the week went. Hear about how you did, but also get your take on the games. I mean, man, bloody Sunday. Sorry, YouTube reference there, but how'd you do? How was your week?
Not that good overall. It was not that good overall, but the first week, my $100 teams didn't do very well. This week, more of them pulled out wins, and so that was kind of the important thing. But it was not like these first 2 weeks. If my teams are just 1-1, I have never been this happy with a 1-1 record as I am this year, because the first 2 weeks have been between injuries going into the games. Injuries that occurred during the games, and just players blowing up for these freak 40-point games. If I'm 1-1, I'm thrilled with that, but it's about split. It's about a third of my teams are 2-0, a third of my teams are 1-1, and a third of my teams are 0-2. So
I am with you, man. We've got Ben in the chat, and he's like, he knows it. Jared's undefeated. And I was watching this closely, especially last night's game, because I remembered that he dropped Carr. So I thought, oh God, I hope Carr doesn't blow up tonight. Because I saw that Trubisky only had 15 fantasy points. Now, we also talked about who's the other? Oh, the Titans guy. What's his name?
Tannehill. Yeah.
Tannehill, he had 16 points or something? Wasn't that much better?
No, I think he had a good. Didn't he have like 4 touchdowns or something?
No, Tannehill? I don't think so.
Let me look back and see. I'm pretty sure he had a good game. I went back to look and see, because I was like, I don't know if I ever. I was looking to see what advice I gave on that. Tannehill had nearly 27 points.
Really?
Yeah, because he had 4 touchdowns. He only threw for 239 yards, but that's kind of he's not a guy that's like tearing past 250 a lot. He'll throw for 240, and then he'll have some touchdowns. He'll run the ball some, but yeah. So I went back to look. So I never really committed to Tannehill or Trubisky. So. Yeah. I was like,
I committed to Trubisky, and I was just so glad that Ben won. I'm glad you won, Ben.
Good.
Move on. Don't stay with the biscuit. Yeah,
I did go back and look at that, because I thought about that too, and I did. I was glad I said at some point, I was like, I don't know. I know I recommended Mitch Trubisky in week 1, but I don't know how many times I would roll the dice on that. So I felt better about my warning on that.
Now, so I heard someone said, to what you were saying earlier, to the point that you were making earlier, I forget who said it, but they said, hey, it doesn't matter what your score is. If you didn't lose McCaffrey or
Saquon.
or Sutton. Now, I lost Sutton, so. But
yeah,
it's almost like that was the win. If you survived, and even with Michael Thomas coming back maybe next week, maybe the next, I feel like I survived okay. I lost Sutton, but then again, we took him because he was
cheap.
was not, he was dirt cheap. So it's not like I have replacements for him.
Right.
Although I think my replacements got hurt. It's like an AJ Brown. Now he'll come back, I think.
Right? Yeah, maybe he's back this week. I'm not sure. But yeah, that's kind of the problem with me is like, like, I didn't take Sutton to be the guy, but I mean, I've got leagues where I took like Kenny Golladay and AJ Brown to be the guys, and then Sutton as the, third or fourth wide receiver. Those guys are all down. So it's, I'm hurting at receiver in some leagues. Like, you think like, oh, it's such a deep position, and it is, but if you happen to take, the wrong guys, then, in terms of injuries, then you're just kind of out of luck here early.
And it is, but it's hard to tell. Like we talked about looking for support last week, and I feel like we got some support for some ideas about some of these guys, but we got like the reverse. I went through, I actually went and I made a lineup for DraftKings that was, I called the didn't work out the first week lineup, where it's just all the guys that didn't do well the first week, and it did okay. It didn't win anything because they didn't do, some of them, should have done better, but a lot of them bounced back. There was a lot of bounce backs. Let's talk real quick about what you took away from the week. Injuries aside, what do you take away? Are you feeling better about certain position? Are you feeling better about the rookies?
I think my takeaways are the depth at a couple of positions and how thin one position is. So like, quarterback has turned out to be a good bit deeper than we thought. And I've got to attribute this to the lack of fans that are disrupting, that are disrupting opposing offenses. Maybe that's not entirely it. But I mean, gosh, just to have so many, Cam, Kyler Murray, Josh Allen, Dak, to go along with, Lamar, which Lamar had a pedestrian day by his standards,
Had a bad day by his standards.
Yeah.
Believe me, I have him everywhere.
Yeah. Mahomes, all these guys just, blowing up, just these offensive shootouts back and forth, the Cowboys and the Falcons. It just seems to me like that some of that's got to be due to, an absence of fans, and the noise, because the stadiums can only take the noise up to a certain level,
But to counter that, here's the other thing is, look at how deep defenses are. How many defenses had 15 points or more?
Yeah. Right. Well, that's what I was going to say. Well, I wasn't actually even really thinking about defenses, but you're right. Tight end was going to be the other one that I was going to say, because, I drafted, usually in most leagues, I drafted Andrews because you could get him for around $20, and you didn't have to pay up 35 or 40 for Kelsey or Kittle. Although I took some shares.
Ben said, okay. I just saw you put up.
Yeah.
Oh, good. You won both places. Good. All right. So Andrews, Kittle.
Yeah. So, but you look at all these guys that, Tyler Higbee had 3 touchdowns, Noah Fant is going. Yeah. Right. I know you're not a Tyler Higbee believer. And granted,
but I will say, Judah is grow. At least for this week, he did well. He did really well.
And he's not getting a ton of targets, but if he's the red zone,
5 targets.
But if he's the red zone guy, because the red zone guy is not going to be Robert Woods. Robert Woods is like Julio Jones. He doesn't catch touchdowns. And I don't know that it's going to be really any of those other guys. So Tyler Higbee could be the guy. Anyway, Higbee, Noah Fant, Hawkinson's been doing pretty well. Darren Waller's balling out. Henry's doing better than expected in that Chargers offense. He was dirt cheap in auction drafts. Mike Gesicki, he's like, he and Noah Fant are like splitting out like into like slot receiver, formations and catching tons of passes. So tight end is really deep. So
Gesicki had 8 passes. He caught 8 passes. It's not like a ton.
Well, but he had, let's see, the targets he had too. Yeah, 11 targets. I mean, anytime 130 yards and a touchdown. Anytime you're getting up into double-digit targets for any player, for any receiver, but a tight end especially, like, that's really good. But then you contrast that with how thin running back was, and then how it got even thinner over the course of the weekend with, at least in terms of like cornerstone backs, like guys you can count on, like Barkley and McCaffrey and stuff like that. So, man, running back's going to be kind of a mess this season.
It is. Ryan says, bleep boys, I can't believe 0-2 in your league. Awful luck. Yeah, it's just the first 2 games. I mean, Jared's 2-0, so I can't be that good. Anyway, so
but it is tough. Like when you get into an 0-2 hole, like the pressure is really on, because like they show, it's almost like kind of like starting if you're a real NFL team and you start 0-2, like the percentages of teams that make the playoffs after that drops down to like either single digits or like near single digits. And so then like the pressure is really on to win in week 3, because, otherwise you're really, cause normally you look at the record that you need to get into the playoffs. Sometimes it's 8-6. Very rarely can you get into the 7-7 team. I've gotten a couple of 7-7 teams in, but that's rare. And you have to have win on points. So generally you need to be 8-6, sometimes 9-5 to get in. So if you start 0-2, you're already in a tough hole, because you're looking at least needing to go 8-4, if not 9-3, to probably make the playoffs in most leagues. Now, our league, like the Roto Listeners League, there's 16 playoffs. Maybe you can get away with 7-7 or 7-6, because we will start in week 14. But it's just such an uphill fight after that. So.
Yeah, it's tough. It can be done, though. It depends on who you have. Like I said, if you survived, in other words, if you didn't lose Saquon, you didn't lose McCaffrey. I feel like people that I hope he didn't draft. I hope he didn't draft Gronk. I don't know how you feel, but I think I dropped Gronk in one league.
I think I took Gronk in one $20 league. For the most part, I avoided like the guys that could really just crush you if you drafted them to rely on like a Gronk or a Le'Veon Bell. A lot of those guys, like I didn't draft any of those guys as any kind. I didn't draft Le'Veon, period. But I didn't draft any of those guys as any kind of cornerstone players.
Well, what about Drew Brees though? I know you drafted a ton of Drew Brees. What do you think? All the networks were talking about today. Mm-hmm. It was like looked up at B-dubs and there was like several screens saying the same thing. Is Brees done? What do you think?
I can't tell for sure yet. I did like drop him prior to that game last night in most leagues, because I knew I wasn't expecting him to do anything in that one. Now, when Michael Thomas comes back and they get back home, maybe Drew Brees is more serviceable, but I don't know. I mean, it's not like the Peyton Manning fall off of a cliff thing, like where he, came into that final season and it was just a disaster. Drew Brees doesn't look that bad. But he's not throwing ducks. He's not throwing ducks. He's still throwing well.
Well,
when he throws the ball, like you really see he has to seems like he has to put what he's got into it,
That is true.
So
it does look that way. Yeah.
but he's never, he's not been like he's never relied on that. And so he's an accurate guy. I think it's a little bit hard to tell because again, they were on the road and he's played bad on the road plenty of times. Didn't have Michael Thomas. So I think there's a possibility, and the first game was against Tampa. So I think there's a possibility that they get back home, get Michael Thomas back, and then he does okay. But with the other options out there and stuff, I just, until, maybe he has a 3 touchdown, 300-yard game, I don't know that I want to go out and pick him back up because I think there's just too many guys that are, playing well. You can go get Gardner Minshew. He's got a great schedule. Burrow is out there. I think there's just too many other options to use right now.
What do you think of Brady? They won. They had a good game. Not really for fantasy though. He had 8 points, I think, for fantasy for us.
Yeah.
What do you think? Is he droppable at this point?
I don't, it's like anything else. It's like every question that we answer, it's who else do you have or who else is available, Yeah. But you look at his schedule. Now granted, New Orleans, I think is a solid.
It looks like it.
What's
really tough defense.
Right. Although the way the Raiders played, I don't know, but that game was in New Orleans. That's a solid defense. Carolina's pass defense, I think we talked about it where I said, I don't know how much Brady's going to have to do because I think they're just going to be able to run all over Tampa, or run all over Carolina. But coming up, they're in Denver and then the Chargers and then at the Bears. So that, there's a few
tough defenses.
There's some more tough before, and then you finally get to a Green Bay, Vegas, Giants. So, but for the time being, I don't think Brady's somebody that I would really want to throw into my lineup right now. What do you think?
Well, I agree.
I'm Breeze and Brady both, I guess.
I'm ready to drop both of them. I don't have Breeze. I have a couple Brady's, and I got offered Brady in trades. I said no. The only I don't think I have any non-elite. I consider Dak elite. I don't have any non-elite quarterbacks, and so people are offering me these quarterbacks. I'm like, why would I want? Why would I want?
Right
now, granted, there's a lot of injuries, so I shouldn't count. But I look at the waiver wire and I'm thinking, I'll pick up Minshew. I'll pick up Joe Burrow.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah, I like. You look at Minshew. The Jaguars, that first game against the Colts, their defense played a little better than we expected, but you have to think that Minshew and Burrow are both going to be in negative game scripts for a lot of the time. They're going to be playing catch up. They both have good weapons. They're both, young, athletic guys. Minshew's a second-year player. Burrow, the way he played in college, I think he's going to catch on, quickly in the NFL. He looked good in that Cleveland game. So yeah, I think you can. I think I would be okay with picking those two guys up and rotating them in and out based on matchups.
Thomas H says, so I benched Higbee for one team and benched Gesicki for another.
Yeah,
not a good strategy. Well, you know what? It's hard to tell. Now they're decent guys. They could blow up.
It's tough. I think the struggle this year is going to be, and I think that was kind of what worried me coming into this year beyond just COVID and everything, is that some years it seems like there's just a very clear line between like a tier of players and the next tier of players. It seems like this year, like the lines have all just been erased. Like, again, like I said, look how many good tight ends are doing well, all those guys. Yeah. Higbee, Gesicki, Hawkinson, Fant, Jonnu Smith, Hurst. And so if you've got a couple of those guys, then, you can't, it's tough really to figure out, especially at this point, like who's the guy to play on a given week. Now, maybe a few more weeks into the season, we can see like what we did last year. Like Arizona was terrible against tight ends. Like, you find the teams that are bad against certain positions and you can rely on certain guys more. But right now it's just like with almost every position, like who do I play this week? It's just like a dice roll,
Well, I think one of the biggest differences is we had a huge influx last year of really good players that didn't really pop as much last year, that popped enough to like let us know. People like Jonnu Smith. There's an influx of rookies like Hawkinson and Fant that had the high caliber skill and ability that didn't really get the opportunity, that are getting the opportunity this year. Yeah. And now on top of that, we have a huge influx of young rookie running backs that seem to be doing fine. COVID really didn't hurt. Right. As you said at one point, I think you or AJ said, there's just not a lot of learning curve when it comes to the position.
Right. Blocking, but I mean, otherwise you run the ball, So
yeah, so it's making it's making for a bigger pool to draw from, it seems like. Ben says, Raiders look really good. I will try to watch all the games. So I think they looked really skilled. But last night, I don't know if they looked really good. I was amazed at the play calling. I didn't understand. I feel like a better team offensively would have beat them.
You were amazed at the play calling by the Saints or the Raiders?
The Raiders. You
didn't think. Oh.
Just all kinds of things. They just did weird things. Now that's normal for
John Gruden.
John Gruden, and it worked for him last night. But they also played a team that was suffering on offense. I mean, they basically just relied on my man AK-47 to say.
Yeah.
Alvin Kamara.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
That we had another question.
Yeah. So Josh Twenter, nice name. I like that. Yesterday, thanks for tuning in, by the way, man. Yesterday, I traded Stafford and Kupp for Michael Thomas. Not bad. 2 QB league. They are 0-2. Some are questioning it. Is it a fair trade? I mean, you gave up a lot for Thomas, who we don't know when the next time he'll play. I mean, normally I would say Stafford, but in a 2 QB league, you probably don't have very many QBs on the waiver wire. Well, yeah. I mean, what do you think, Jared?
When I first saw it, I was like, oh yeah, that's a BS trade. But the more I thought about it, I mean, I think the fact that it is 2 QB league, Michael Thomas is hurt, plus the fact that I think you're going to get a better Stafford as soon as Galladay comes back. So for me, if I was another owner, I would be mad about it probably. But I think under the circumstances between Thomas's injury and the fact that it's a 2 quarterback league, I think I would, begrudgingly allow it if I was in that league.
And one thing to think about too is we saw somebody from the same team last year get the same injury, and that was Kamara, and he came back within 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. He just never was the same. And Mahomes too, if you remember, he had the same injury. Right. He came back. But it's just you can still play on it, but you're hobbled. Thomas H says, with so much uncertainty this year, it's nice that we still have something that we can count on. The Falcons are still
Yeah, I texted a buddy of mine as soon as we were I was watching that game. And so, they got, I forget what the lead was, but once they got up, I'm like, man, the Cowboys look horrible, because it was after they tried to fake the punt and went for it, didn't get it. So we were just laughing about that, and I'm like, yeah, but it's the Falcons. There's plenty of time, and this is what they do. And man, I tell you what, I got off the Falcons train about maybe 9 seasons or so ago. It was after I started going to Colts games. I had a buddy that lived up there in Indiana, and I just decided, you know what, I've got more than enough excuses here that I think I can piece them all together and validate ditching the Falcons, because I have to work with them in my job at the time. I had been to more Colts games than Falcons games. And then it just got to the point where I was really, though, it was just like, I don't want to do this Falcons thing anymore. Like, this is too crazy. And so I'm glad I got off before the Super Bowl thing, before this. I have never looked back on that decision. The Colts have had a lot of rough moments with Josh McDaniels, with Andrew Luck, but none of it compares to that soul crushing experience of having a 20-something point lead and then just watching it blow away.
Yeah. Terrible. But he says, to be honest, both Falcons games have been pretty entertaining, and they have. I'm loving my Ridley shares. I'll tell you that much. Number 1 wide receiver.
They're great for fantasy purposes, and I mean, not just Ridley. Gage, Matt Ryan, Julio did nothing in that game.
Anything both games, really.
He kind of had like a typical Julio day that first week where he had double digits on a lot of catches and yards, but he just can't catch balls in the end zone.
you sent me that text.
Yeah. I mean, he was just wide open, bombing and dropped it. I don't know. It's got to be like a mental thing or something. I don't know. He just can't catch touchdowns. Russell Gage, though, Thomas H, I think, asked about him after week 1, and I was kind of skeptical with the fact that they have Hurst and all that, and Hurst did get a lot more involved, but really it wasn't Gage that took a backseat this week. It was Julio, but I don't think I don't think 4 pass catchers are going to be supported on a weekly basis. So I think it's still going to be a little bit of a dice roll in terms of like who's going to be the one that kind of gets left out in the cold this week. And, this week it was Julio. First week it was Hurst. Maybe next week it's Gage. I don't know.
I don't know either. Ray Gibson, I was going to ask you about this when we were talking about Tampa. Do you think Fournette's going to get more snaps after Sunday's performance? I think yes. I think he is their go-to guy. I wish I had gone out and got him. What do you think?
I tried to get him cheap for some places. I did get him in a couple of leagues prior to when he got actually released from Jacksonville. I did a trade I traded, and it looked terrible at first. Because I traded Devontae Adams. I needed running back depth because I really only had one decent guy. I traded Devontae Adams, and I got Chark, Jonathan Taylor, and Fournette. And so then when Indy announced that's
really good.
Well, it's good, really good now. But when Indy said like, "Oh, Taylor's going to be the backup," and it was looking like he was going to be third in line behind Hines and Mack. And then when Fournette got cut and you didn't even like, oh, he's maybe going to be like, it looked really bad then. And then now it looks really good. So hopefully it's turned the corner on that. But I think I talked about this some. Like, I saw a tweet from someone like who had screen capped all the tweets and or stories that Bruce Arians lying about who was going to be his running back, And so the Rojo thing, it lasted for a game, and, we'll see. Maybe it turns out he still gets the start, but I think it was like, he's still our guy for this week. And so then once Fournette had a week in the offense, and I think Rojo made a mistake. He missed a pass protection or something, fumbled. I don't remember what it was. He did something in that game. And so I think maybe that's going to be Arians' excuse to go to Fournette.
Yeah, probably.
Although I will say, you remember last year, I think it was with like Barber and Rojo and
and
yeah.
Unabawala or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you couldn't count on it week to week. He would like one of them would mess up on something and then he would go to the other one. So that worries me. But hopefully with Leonard Fournette being sort of a step above those other guys, hopefully, it sticks with him.
Yeah, maybe Julio is allergic to the end zone paint.
I don't know. I don't know if it's. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a mental thing in the end zone. I don't know if it's just like the fact that like when you're in the end zone, typically it's going to be like, your body positioning is different. Like Julio seems to work best where he can get in space, catch the ball and do stuff with it. Yeah. He doesn't seem to be that good at,
over the shoulder.
He does
really well when he's facing the quarterback. Yeah.
But, that doesn't really work for him in the end zone either. Even being 6'3" and can jump out of the stadium, they can't like lob it into him or anything like that. He's just, for whatever reason, it just seems like he's good at certain types of catches, and those just don't work for him.
Well, Jaden T, good to have you, man. He says, I have Kelce and Andrews. Any idea? I would play them both. Kelce and Andrews, play them both. I mean, I'm going with that strategy this year, and so far it's worked out pretty well since, mainly because Kittle has gotten hurt. But I have an easy backup with in one league with Kelce and one league with Andrews. So,
yeah. I mean, it's tough to bench either one of those guys. I don't know who else you have, who else you would be playing at flex. And I know the Ravens are a tough defense, but I don't know how you ever really bench Travis Kelce. I don't know. That's a tough one because, it's I think
it's going to be a shootout too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, do you see them locking each other down? I don't. And I don't see one. I don't see one just overpowering the other. It's got to be a shootout, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It depends on maybe how you define shootout. I mean, I think the Ravens defense is good enough to slow Kansas City a little bit. So I don't know for sure. I don't know that it's going to be like that Seahawks Cowboys game or the Seahawks Patriots game or the Cowboys Falcons game. But I think it's going to be back and forth, and it's not going to be. I don't think it's going to be like 17-14 or anything like that. So. Yeah. So I guess it depends on who he's got as a, as another flex option. But those guys are, they're really the primary pass catcher normally for both their teams for good offenses. So
for the best quarterbacks, I would say, or at least top three. Well, let's get
news in the NFL today.
Let's talk a little bit. Can we go through? Would you be able to go through all the injuries? I was looking for a list, but we know. I mean, the main two were McCaffrey and Adams, right? Devontae Adams, and those were the two scariest ones. Looks like McCaffrey, and then of course Saquon Barkley, right? Those are the top three.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on how you want to. I would say that the top injuries would be just in terms of like their long-term effect. Barkley first, because he's done for the year. McCaffrey, even though, he's going to be back, I mean, he's going to miss 4 to 6 weeks. I mean, he's going to miss anywhere between a quarter and a third or more of the season. Especially when guys in auction drafts paid like sometimes $90 for him. Well, I don't know if you got the screen cap that I sent to you and AJ, but one of the guys I'm playing in one of my $100 leagues this coming week, he drafted Saquon and McCaffrey.
And he had somebody else too that did terrible this week.
He had Garoppolo, but I mean, he can replace Garoppolo.
Oh, yeah, Garoppolo.
Garoppolo is replaceable, but yeah, I mean, so he would have spent, probably 75 on McCaffrey, if not 80, and then 70 on. So he spent 3/4 of his salary cap draft budget on those two, and then one of them's done for the year, one of them's done for probably 5 weeks. So that's the danger. That's the danger with drafting, paying that much money in an auction draft.
Yeah, was it studs and duds? Your studs become duds really fast when they get injured.
Yeah. So those two were the big injuries, and then but after that though, even though he's not like on the level of Devontae Adams, I don't know how. I think Adams' injury is pretty minor. I'd put Sutton third because he's done for the year, and I mean,
oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I mean, people drafted him like 5th round, 6th round. So yeah. I think that one's next.
Quick, Jaden said he's just worried because Andrews had 2 points this week. Well, I mean, you're gonna get that from anybody,
right?
He's more likely to blow up than he is to get 2 points again.
Yeah,
but back to the injury. Sutton, he's gone. Droppable.
Yeah, he's done for the year. Tore his ACL.
I mean, in a redraft league, folks, he'll be back. If you have him in Dynasty, just put him on your IR. Saquon, droppable. I saw some people holding on to him. Just drop his ACL. In a redraft league.
He's done.
Now, here's the thing about CMC and Adams, Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams seems like it's a little bit less, but already they're saying next week he's not going to play. Or they're saying he may not play. It's a hammy, and I don't know. It's
hamstrings are worrisome. Hamstrings are worrisome. They can easily, like I had an Adam Thielen last year, and it was just a weekly thing of like, he's going to be back this week. No, it's going to be back the next week. And, he played 10 games because just every week turned into next week. He tried to come back once, re-injured it, and then had to sit back again. I think he tried to come back again and then was just done for the year. So, hamstrings, I think I talked about it with the Myles Sanders thing. Hamstring injuries, they worry me. Someone else though, like probably who I would put fourth behind Barkley, McCaffrey, and Sutton would be Raheem Mostert, because he's definitely looks like out for this week. And you mentioned it at the top of the show. Like, is McKinnon the top ad for this week? So I would put him fourth because we don't know about Devontae Adams, but we do know pretty well for sure about Mostert, and the way he's been playing, and as thin as running back is, that's another tough loss for people.
Now, what was his injury again? It was a hammy, or what was
I think it was a strain. Yeah, it's a strained MCL sprain. Yeah,
it's mild, but we'll see. It's interesting. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, his timetable is pretty unclear. Like they're saying he's basically he's not gonna play this week, but beyond that, and on limited touches he had first week he had 23 points. This week he had 17 on 8 carries, 92 yards and a touchdown. Plus a little bit receiving. So I mean, he was just blowing up for the 49ers.
Well, to go along with the Sutton too, I forgot that Locke was injured, and I saw the Pro Football Doc talking about him, and he said the way he jammed his elbow down, it looks like it may be worse than they're really talking. And they did go out and shop around. They're looking for I think Bortles came through.
Yeah, I don't remember. I can look and see if they signed him, but that was who they were.
Signed him, but I don't know if they're going to.
Man, that's such a depressing. No, yeah, they did. The Broncos
they signed him.
They signed Blake Bortles to a 1-year contract. So I don't know if I would assume he's probably then going to play behind Driscoll, who actually I don't think Driscoll played terribly. Did he? Let's see what he actually did. No, I mean Driscoll was.
He's not a bad backup.
18 for 34, which the completion percentage is trash, but 256 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception against the Steelers in Pittsburgh. That's not terrible.
No, I went out. I hope nobody's from my dynasty league. Dynasty 2 quarterback. I went out and put $50 fab. He was on the waiver wire. Driscoll. I need an extra quarterback. So we'll see.
It must be pretty slim pickings if you're putting $50 of a $100 budget from.
I mean, my second quarterback is Fitzpumpkin, or Fitzpatrick now, Fitzmagic now. Who knows? I mean, he was Fitzpumpkin at the beginning of the first week. Oh, so Ben is showing us some people we could talk about here. We have Cam Akers with cartilage. I think he had like separated ribs. He's going to be out for at least a week. DJ Chark limited with a chest something, which reminds me, Ty God out with some kind of breathing problem.
Okay.
Un-COVID related. You know, so we got the what's his name? The rookie? Herbert.
Oh, Tyrod Taylor. Yeah, sorry, it was taking me a second.
Sorry.
I was thinking Tyreek. I was thinking Tyreek Hill for a second. Yeah, Herbert came in and played well.
I was surprised. You know me, I am a Herbert hater, but I think he did okay. I think he did pretty good.
He did.
Got 49ers, Tevin Coleman knee. Yeah, he's going to be out for a while. I mean, that's what we want to talk more about that when we talk about the waiver wire.
Yep.
49ers Mostert. We talked about that. Colts Campbell's out for a while. It's not good. But does that the Pittman season, or is it not? Because he was hurt too. He had a questionable designation.
I like Michael. If you're in a deeper league, I missed the questionable thing with Pittman. I mean, I like Michael Pittman. It's really tough if you're in a deeper league. You know, I definitely like him, but it's really tough to know exactly what he's going to do because, you know, the Colts, I think, are just going to lean so heavily on the running game and hopefully the defense plays like the week 2 defense and not the week 1 defense. But TY just doesn't look good. They like to throw the ball. You know, Phillip Rivers likes to throw the ball to the tight end. Mo Alley Cox had over 100 yards.
Sleeper wired. Put a pin in that. Yeah. But although, you know, Doyle is going to come back, so that could mess that up. But if you look at last year with the Chargers receivers, it was tough to count on them, you know, and they're more experienced than, you know, Mike Williams as the 2 was more experienced than, you know, Pittman. Last year was Pittman's either second or third season. So I don't know. I mean, I like Mike Pittman as a deeper league guy, but I don't think he's going to blow up with Rivers as his quarterback. Ben also says, also in the news is that Sean Payton finds more than $500,000 for improper mask usage. I think, both John Gruden and Sean Payton.
Was it that much? I thought it was.
I thought it was less. I thought it was like 60, but
I thought it was okay. It's 100,000, I think.
Okay.
So,
okay.
But the teams were also punished with $250,000 fines. So the coaches got individual $100,000 fines, and then the teams got $250,000. So
that's just outrageous. Peyton's already had it. He's got the antibodies.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, I think so much of it is.
It's like example or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow, KEllisTalks. Thanks for tuning in. Have you ever heard of Vampire League? I think I was in one last year. We called it something else. I talked to you, Jared, about it. I would get your advice where whoever loses the bottom, everybody gets to suck their blood or take their players. I think that's what he's talking about. I don't know otherwise. That was a hard league to play, and I did not play again this year. So that shows you how much I enjoyed it. I did not. Have you ever played anything like that?
I have not. I don't think it would appeal to me either.
It was frantic, dude. It took over
I remember
my Tuesday nights, man. It really did.
I remember you telling me about it. Yeah. I don't think it's for me.
Oh. Rude Alva. Come on, don't be so rude, dude. I'm just kidding. So drop Zack Moss and pick up Myles Gaskins? I wouldn't. But what do you think?
I think that's a much tougher dilemma than I would have expected to be. So here's the thing. I think, Buffalo obviously has a better offense, but it's so limited by what Josh Allen's going to vulture in terms of rushes and especially rushing touchdowns. Singletary is still getting kind of an edge over Zack Moss. If Singletary went down or something though, or if Josh Allen went down and they had to rely on that, then Moss could potentially be, if you got a quarterback in that can't run and has to just rely on the traditional run, Moss has a lot of upside. In terms of right now, I think Myles Gaskins actually, again, shockingly, is a better player, even with losing goal line to Jordan Howard, even with, losing snaps to Breida. The way he's catching the ball, he's giving you almost kind of like a James White floor, and I don't think Jordan Howard is suddenly going to become a better player. And I don't think, Matt Breida is going to, gain a greater role in that offense. So,
well, would you pick up Breida or Gaskins if they're both out of the
Gaskin. Yeah.
See, I don't think, and I can't, nobody can know, but I don't think that the game plan going forward is rely on Myles Gaskin. I think Breida is going to have a bigger role as they go on. I think Myles Gaskin's a tiny little pipsqueak. Now, do you think he's going to become?
Matt Breida's a tiny little pipsqueak.
That may be true.
They're basically about the same size, but
yeah, but Breida's done it. Whereas, okay, Gaskins did it for 1 week. Did you see him the first week?
Well, I mean, he's basically put up similar stat lines. So the first week he had 9 rushes, 40 yards, and
scrappy.
But he also had 4 targets, caught all 4 for 26, and then this week he had 46 rushing yards, and he had 7 targets, caught 6 of them for 36 yards. So I think it kind of depends. Like, well, again, we wear this out, but it's true. Is like it kind of depends on your situation. Like, if you need someone to plug in as a flex right now, and especially if you're in a deeper league or something, Myles Gaskin's probably the better option.
I mean, there's got to be better options though. Let's look through here. Would you take Gaskins or would you take Lewis?
I mean, Dion Lewis. Yeah, that's what you mean? So the Giants just signed Devonta Freeman. I think Devonta Freeman's going to get most of the carries there.
No,
you don't think so? They're going to sign Devonta to be. Why do you sign Devonta Freeman if he's not going to be, because he wanted money. So I don't think they're going to sign him unless they're going to pay him money to be the guy. I don't think they're going to sign him to be a backup. Dion Lewis has never really been the guy.
They paid Dion.
I don't remember what they paid him, but I don't think, but they paid him something. But I don't think you go and sign him and sign Devonta if Dion is your guy. So,
well, they could try it, but Freeman's broken, man. That dude, he's hobbling out there.
He didn't do well. Like the whole Atlanta rushing offense has been a mess for several years. Todd Gurley right now is not doing a whole lot. Like I've got a lot of shares of Gurley. He's not getting. Well, he did actually have 21 rushes in that Dallas game, but he had 61 yards. no catches, no touchdown. And he's just, I mean, he's not nimble. So I think part of it was that Atlanta offense. It just, I don't know.
That could be.
I actually feel better about Devontae.
Would you pick up Devontae Freeman over Gaskins?
Yeah, because I think his floor is going to be what Gaskin is giving you, and his upside is higher than that. So I would go Devontae.
What are the odds though? That's like a 3-headed monster with Gallman in there as well.
I don't think so. I don't think it's going to be the Rams. I don't think it's going to
the Rams all of a sudden a 1-headed monster.
Well,
my man
Malcolm. Yeah, your man.
What's his name?
Henderson.
Hender.
My guy. I could never forget him.
I'll never forget his name again.
Yeah, he looked good. That one's
He's
hard.
Got a tough defense next week.
Yeah, that one's a tough one because he's got a tough defense, and Malcolm Brown had his pinky like broken or something, and they fixed that. And then
he'll be out still another 2 weeks probably.
They were basically saying like he was going to play next week. We'll see. I mean, you can play with a pinky, like I mean, it probably won't feel good, but it's not gonna really hinder you.
Yeah, I guess so.
Now I would, if you could get Freeman, I would go with Freeman. But out of those two, if you've got pretty good depth, otherwise, if we're talking about just sort of the bottom of your bench, I would keep Moss probably for the upside. If you need a guy to plug in at flex right now, like I just don't know that Moss. I think it's going to be a while maybe before he contributes more. I'd probably go with Gaskin.
Okay, what about so Caedmon's hey Caedmon, he says, where's my man AJ? He's got the thing tonight. He's on assignment, and good to see you, Caedmon. That's the Scarabee Giraffe, I think.
Oh, okay.
Is that Scarabee Giraffe? Let us know, Caedmon, in the comment section. Rude says, what about if I drop AP? Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, keep Moss and drop AP.
AP's not coming back. Well, I mean, if he does, he does. But, I mean, at this point, why hasn't anybody picked him up? Loving Aaron Jones, says Caedmon. My goodness, that was...
Well,
that was what you guys were talking about when I was downplaying him. You all were saying he's not as bad as you're talking about, Judah. I saw it, last night. Holy cow.
Well, I was after week 1, but like during the offseason, I was okay. We have to.
You were back and forth.
I was at the end of last season, I was all for him. I think we had a bet, or no, we ended up not making that bet because I think it was like you wanted to bet who would finish higher, but I wasn't that confident in it. I think you wanted to do Chubb, and I had Aaron Jones. Anyway, I was all in on Aaron Jones late last year. He helped me win some leagues. What worried me in the offseason was the fact that they drafted Dillon in what's a contract year for, Aaron Jones. So it wasn't his ability that worried me, but I didn't really, draft him because I was afraid that he just wasn't going to have the carries. But he's still getting them, and he's still blowing up for games like he did last year. And that Carolina rush defense that people are just running all over, that's what he gets in week 15, which is the first round of the fantasy playoffs. So Aaron Jones is now looking like a steal.
Trading for him?
If I could, I doubt a lot of people are going to give him up. Guys I would want to go get would be like Jonathan Taylor and Aaron Jones. People are probably not going to give him up, but like now I think Jones again, I think he was top 3 last year. And I think like the way he's going, if he stays healthy, he's got a good chance to finish like top 3 again.
Well, I think I do remember us talking about it. Maybe I was higher on him than I thought, because I thought he was getting a lot more catches. I can't remember what we talked about, but I do believe in his skill. I just, I mean, it's hard. It was hard to like imagine that he would do something like he did last yesterday or Sunday. Holy cow! KEllisTalks Trade Diggs for CC and no
CeeDee.
CeeDee. Sorry, no CeeDee and Sanders. They're nothing. Diggs is.
I like CeeDee. CeeDee's doing. CeeDee had 100 yards. He give him his due. He had 106 yards against the Falcons.
Bortles? Who's
CeeDee in Dallas?
Oh, in Dallas. I'm mixing them up. Okay,
Yeah.
Dallas. I don't know.
He's been the number 2 guy, but I think there's gonna be weeks where. Yeah, I think there's going to be weeks where Gallup gets more involved. That's the other thing that's hurting me is I drafted Gallup as like a 4th or 5th wide receiver, and then when I had all the injuries, I had to put him in my lineup, and he's done nothing for 2 weeks. So yeah,
Dude, I'm with you. AJ Brown and Gallup are my backups, and they're
right. Yeah. No, I wouldn't do that deal though. I don't think it's like.
Are you still hopeful Gallup is going? Is Gallup going to turn it around, or is he droppable? Because at this point, I'm.
No, I wouldn't drop him. I would wait at least 1 more week, if not 2. But if he doesn't do anything for the next couple of weeks, I mean, like, their tight end had a good game. There's just a lot of mouths to feed in that Dallas offense.
Really,
and Dak seems to like to throw more to the slot, or if he throws downfield, he trusts Amari. Or he just throws in the slot to CeeDee or the tight end, or the dumps off to Zeke. He runs it. I'm starting to worry. I'm starting to worry about Gallup because it's been like 5. It's been like 5 targets each of these 2 games.
That's exactly what AJ Herschel said. He's like, I hate Gallup because there's too many mouths to feed. And I thought, yeah, well, and he was right.
Yeah, well, but that was another one though that I drafted him because he was dirt cheap. I mean, he was going for $4 in auction leagues. So
yeah, you're right. Whoa, Splishy XD says, what are your thoughts on Mixon and AJ Brown? Well, I don't know about your thoughts, Jared, but I think Mixon, I love his skill. I'm really worried about that offensive line. AJ Brown, I mean, it's hard to tell. Let's do when he's healthy. I don't know. I if he was healthy the first week, then we're in trouble. But I'm just hoping he was kind of injured, whatever, and missed a step. But it's not looking great. It isn't looking. That whole offense, I'll be honest, that whole Titans offense is not looking great. I mean, they're winning, but they're not winning by putting up a lot of fantasy points. I'll say that.
Yeah, I didn't draft a whole lot of AJ Brown because the thing that worried me from last year was that he had a lot of big plays. He wasn't necessarily getting that many targets. If we go back to late last year, I think especially in the playoffs, like through the end of the fantasy season, he was really good. 2 of the last 3 games. Well, the last game would have probably been week 17 when he wasn't playing. Week 15, though, against Houston, 13 targets, 114 yards, a touchdown. But then 3 of the next 4 games, he had 3 targets or less. 2 of those 3, he had single-digit yards. In the playoffs, he had 4 yards, 1 catch for 4 yards against the Patriots, 1 catch for 9 yards against the Ravens. And granted, those are very good defenses. But
the hope was that he would catch touchdowns, and he missed it. He threw his hands on the first week, so it's not looking great for him.
Yeah, I didn't get to see. I don't think I saw that game. Oh, wait, no, I did see part. Oh, no, yeah. What am I talking about?
The one where you beat me because of that.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Thank you for jogging my memory. I had forgotten that. Yeah. I remember that now. Okay. So you just walked right into that one. You just walked right into that one. So yeah, the hope was that what he would lose with big plays, because like the big plays he had last year just weren't sustainable. That what he would lose with that, he would make up for with a little bit of volume, and end zone catches and stuff like that. It's hard to tell from week one, but Jonnu is obviously more of a focal point in the offense. I think this year they signed Adam Humphries, who was a good like third receiver, fourth receiver in Tampa. Corey Davis seems to have a little bit of resurgence. So, the Titans aren't an offense that passes the ball around tremendously anyway. I'm worried about the targets he's going to get. And I'm worried about Mixon too. Again, I didn't draft Mixon more. I drafted him two places, $100 league and a $20 league. But out of all the leagues that I have, that's, minuscule. So, I had him last year and he just killed me. He just killed me in a couple of leagues because they got off to such a slow start. They have a tough schedule. The offensive line doesn't look good. They get the Steelers in week 15, the first weekend of the fantasy playoffs. I don't love Mixon right now.
I love Mixon, and I only drafted him in one league, and that was on accident. That was the one where I didn't show up for the draft accidentally, and I auto drafted him. I also got Josh, what's his name? Josh Allen. So that was nice. Let's see. Caedmon says, gotta love that Packers offense. Wrong one. Go Pack go. That's a high five for you there, buddy. All right. Let's see. KEllisTalks says, I have Andrews and Hurst. What should I do with Hurst? I think I'd play Andrews. I think I'd play Andrews over Hurst this week. Who are the Falcons playing?
I think the Bears. So the Bears have been solid,
been pretty, especially against tight ends.
Yeah, I would play Andrews. Like you said, I think that Chiefs game, they're going to have to put up points. And they probably aren't just going to be able to completely run the ball. I would play him. And hold off on Hurst this week. But Hurst did in that Cowboys game like what we thought he could do in that Atlanta offense. So he is fast.
He looked great out there. I think playing both, if you don't have a great, if you don't, well, I don't know. I mean, the problem with tight ends is if you don't have an elite one, and I consider Andrews pretty elite. He's top 4, but Hurst did look great, and he could get you a solid 10 points every week. I think it's obviously not his floor because he had like 2 week 1, but.
Well, and that's the thing I worry about trying to pick matchups with people, because sometimes that works. I think it especially works better for quarterbacks and running backs. Wide receivers and tight ends are a little bit more unpredictable, and what you can have happen, and why I tried to get away from this was to avoid trying to constantly play matchups and mostly go with certain guys and occasionally switch them out, because I got into a 1 year, probably my worst fantasy season, where I was always making the wrong calls. And so, one guy, I'd be like, okay, I think he's going to do well, put the other guy on my bench, and it's the reverse. And then the next week I swap him out, and then the guy on the bench goes off. That's the danger. And so you can fall into this rhythm of always being on the wrong week, where the guy on your bench is the wrong one, and you're constantly losing out on points. Whereas if you just stuck with one guy, every other week he's going to do well for you or something. So that's the only danger with that.
Yeah, I heard a really good old time analyst say when he plays, he goes with the one that brung you, and he just leaves them in. Now, of course, if they get hurt or something, he takes them out. But I think sometimes you have to have a certain mentality like that. If you start getting too cute,
yeah,
I mean, you could do well, but you could also just do the opposite.
Yeah.
Were you gonna say something?
No, go ahead.
So Ben says, Judah, do you paint? Yes, I do. I'm just now noticing the paintings in your background. I like the guy with the top hat. Oh yeah, that's I call him I don't know what I call him. He's like a undercover Christian or something like that. He's got, you can't see, but he's got the like symbol of the Holy Spirit on his chest. And then there's a self-portrait when I was in high school. Some of these paintings are from when I was in high school. This is, I came back to my old high school room recently, and while we're looking for a house, so a lot of my old paintings I just put up in the background of something.
Nice.
Oh, and that's Gobo, if you know Gobo from the Fraggle Rock. I don't know if you ever saw
Yeah, I can tell. It looked a little bit like Elmo, but not quite. So yeah,
he's missing his hair. I did his hair in pink highlighter, and the highlighter just faded.
Oh.
Thanks for noticing, Ben. Are you a painter? Let me know in the comments. All right, so Splishy XD says, what holes do you think I need to fill? 12 man per league.
I don't know what your team looks like.
Oh, his team looks like Aaron Rodgers, CEH, Mixon, Juju, Ridley. Wow, are you just showing off, Splishy? Because this is a really good. This is a really good team.
I would
Mixon.
Yeah, I would want a third running back. Which running backs are tough. You know, maybe you can get somebody off the waiver wire tonight. Maybe you can get Devonta Freeman. There's some short-term solutions in terms of maybe a Mike Davis or Jerick McKinnon. But I would definitely want a third running back. And if you can't get a third running back for right now, I would definitely try to, if you've got room on your bench, have Darrell Williams and Giovanni Bernard, because if something happens to either one of your running backs, you're going to be in a world of hurt.
Good call. And we'll talk about the waiver wire. Stay tuned. I would look, if Henderson is on your waiver wire, I would pick up Henderson, but I think he's going to be great rest of the season, but that's just me. I'm not a painter, but I appreciate good art. Good. You know what? One of these days, we'll look closer. I'm too lazy to get up right now. Also, Sukan C says, drop Big Ben for Gardner Minshew. I'd do it. I think Gardner Minshew has a higher floor, though his ceiling is not as. I mean, he's not. I mean, Big Ben could have a 5 touchdown week. You're just going to have to feel okay that you didn't have him on, starting that week. But Gardner Minshew, he's got a little bit of running. He's got some great. He doesn't have a great RB core. What do you think, J-Rod?
I guess I'm curious if this is your number one quarterback, or if you have a second one, or if this is your backup. If you could roster both, I like Minshew's got a really good schedule coming up for a little while. But yeah, like Judah said, I think Ben, Ben's Ben. He's got a lot of weapons in that Steeler offense. If he stays healthy, and then just looking down the line, if you somehow make the playoffs, Week 15, Minshew's in Baltimore and Ben's in Cincinnati, and there's a big difference there. So that's looking way down the line. But I think it's something you still have to consider. If you're looking for a starter, if you can roster both, I think that would be ideal. If you just have to go with one, I don't know. You're going with Minshew.
He has Joe Burrow on his bench as well. I'd go with Minshew. He's hot, man. Go stay in the fire.
Yeah. Man, that is a tough one. That is a tough one.
I mean, you have to, if I'm doing it, I just have to tell myself, Big Ben, because I'm dropping him right now, Big Ben this week is going to have 5 touchdowns. And then you just get over that, and later on, Big Ben will have an average of 12 points a game, but
yeah, his schedule is not bad either. They've got Houston, he's at Tennessee, Philadelphia, Cleveland, then he's at Baltimore and got a bye. And that would be really hard for me to pull the trigger on that one. I'm curious to see while we're on it. I'm curious to see how Yahoo has them ranked right now. Let's see.
How would you see that? Would you?
It's their week 3 fantasy rankings.
Projection?
Yeah, week 3. Yeah, projections rankings. They've got Ben at 10 and Minshew at 14 this week. Yeah, I just okay.
Stick with Ben.
I feel a little better about that validating my opinion. Is like it's close. I like them both, but it's just tough for me to all the years of Ben. Minshew had some good games last year, and then he kind of trailed off. So I would be a little more inclined to stick with Ben for right now.
The other thing is, Ben mentioned DJ Chark with a chest injury. That could also be something that hurts Minshew. Just wise.
Yeah.
I'd still go with Minshew, but I like the mustache. Minshew walk. All right, so let's see. I feel like I need to get rid of Mixon. I only have one share of him. Well, I said I only have one share. I just traded him for my least favorite tight end. What's his name for the Eagles?
Zach Ertz.
I just traded him for Ertz and somebody else I could throw a backup. So we'll see how that works out. I was hoping to get a little bit of something out of him this week. Didn't get anything. Well, I got like 8 points. I think that's fine. I have Gibson on my bench, but I'm not comfortable starting him. He seemed to be getting, now he's not on a great offense, but he seemed to be getting the majority. You can effort this, but I think he got the majority of the snaps.
Mm-hmm.
And he got a lot of nice touches. He's very versatile in that offense.
Yeah, I mean, his role looks like it's going to grow. Peyton Barber vultured touchdowns.
I think he had like one touch.
He did.
And it was a touchdown?
No. The first week he had touchdowns. I think this week he just basically did nothing. So, so Gibson had nine carries in week 1. He had 13 carries in week 2. Coming up, it is a little bit tough. He's at Cleveland next week. And then he's got Baltimore. Then he's got the Rams. And then finally things kind of start to lighten up a little bit with the Giants, the Cowboys, the Giants, the Lions. I think for the short term, I think it would be tough to start Gibson, but once you get out a little bit past that, I think later on in the season he could be a really good value. Yeah, but right now I would not want to start him for the next at least few weeks.
Okay, well, that does it for now. Let's go ahead and talk about Waverwire Warriors. I had to go with something with W. Warriors? That terrible. But whatever. Let's talk about the waiver wire. We need a thing for this, but I'm too lazy. So the top ones, as far as I can tell, are Devontae Freeman, Jared McKinnon, and Mike Davis. Do you know, as far as running backs go, can you think of any others? Well, and Deion Lewis.
Yeah.
Running backs, can you think of any others that you're looking to pick up? I would pick up Henderson if he's out there, and he is. And I don't know. Let's see. Henderson is out there, and he's only rostered
34% all.
Yeah. So I mean, I know he's got a rough matchup next week, and he's not going to be the end all be all, but boy, I think he'd be a great, backup if you're waiting on McCaffrey, and you can't get, if you don't have the first waiver wire priority, or if you don't have any more fab bucks. But some of you do have fab bucks. I know this because I'm in a league with you. What do you think? What do you think? Who are you going to spend all your fab bucks on, Jared?
Well, I only have one league where I have fab bucks, and that's your league where you put umpteen roster spots where we have massive benches and IR spots. So there's almost no one out there. So I don't feel inclined to spend all my fab bucks on anybody.
Well, let's see who's out there. Well, So
Devonta is out there, in our league.
I think Ben tried to get me to take it.
Yeah, we can't do that. We can't do that midweek. So yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a gamble. I would feel better if it was some situation where there was a clear, if Ezekiel Elliott went down, then you just throw everything you've got to get Tony Pollard. Or James Conner goes down, I think you throw most everything you've got to get Benny Snell. If he's out there, which I'm keeping him on all my teams. I think whether I have Conner or not, because it's just if James Conner stays healthy, it'll amaze me. So Did
you play him this week?
I did. Yeah. They said he was going to. No, Conner.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I played Conner too. Yeah.
Yeah. But I am keeping Snell around. I'm not, starting him, especially after, last year. I didn't start him in any leagues because it sounded like Conner was still going to get, the full load, and he did. But I think it's worth keeping Snell around. Anyway, back to the point. With Freeman, it's just not a sure thing of exactly what he's going to get and how he's going to look. And so he would be my top pickup, but I don't know how much I would spend on him in terms of fab.
Yeah,
you're the fab guy. What are you?
I'm not spending anything on Freeman. I think he's garbage, but you've talked me into thinking he's worth at least 11 to 13 fab dollars. I think if you can get him for 11, 13, that's like a little over 10%. It's 11 to 13% of your fab. I'd do that. I mean, especially if you are the Saquon Barkley owner. Now, I do think that there is an off chance that what's his name? The other guy out there, Gallman comes in and vultures some touchdowns. And I think that Lewis is going to be the pass catching back, and on a team that's not going to be winning many games, you want the pass catching back. I guess, but then again, it's not good to assume what the game script is going to be. I do think that Lewis is the more skilled running back. I would actually skip Freeman, pay a little less for Lewis. You probably get Lewis for like $7 to $9 fab bucks. And if you want, if you miss on both of those, grab Gallman, see what happens. And now he could get 0. I mean, it's hard to tell. Obviously, if they trusted Gallman and Lewis, they wouldn't have, you're right, they wouldn't have gone out and got Freeman.
Right.
But the truth is, they don't really know. They're probably panicking. They don't have the best. Saquon Barkley, the best. They spent a first round pick on him. They're probably panicking, and not panicking in a way they think they're not going to win the playoffs now, because they weren't anyways. And maybe they're rejoicing because now they're going to get, what's his name? Trip for Trevor, or whatever you want to say. Do you see them winning any games here on out?
Sorry, you kind of lost me. We're talking about Trevor, and who are we talking about?
I'm talking about the sorry, the New York. What are their names? The New York.
Sorry, we went to college for a second. Yeah. Okay, gotcha. Trevor.
Yeah, the New York Giants.
Yeah,
going to lose for Trevor and just tank
Trevor. Yeah.
Obviously, that would be better.
Yeah.
They've got San Francisco, they got the Rams, they got Dallas, Washington, Philly. They're playing some pretty stout defenses.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough spot for. I mean, what do the Jets really have? They had a lot of players opt out. Sorry.
I'm talking about New York. The New York Giants.
Sorry, you're still talking about the Giants. Okay, sorry. I was looking at a story today about the Jets tanking for Trevor. I thought you'd shifted to the Jets. Anyway, yeah, because
that'd be interesting.
The Jets are in a worse spot, really. I mean, in a way. I mean, the Giants, have some pieces. The Jets, their defense. They traded Jamal Adams. He wanted out. The defense was in a rough spot anyway with guys opting out. You look at what they have on offense, they don't really have much beyond Jamison Crowder. Le'Veon is not getting anything. Darnold last year, Darnold's always going to be known for seeing ghosts. Anyway, so the Jets are in a bad spot. I think it's maybe more likely that they do. The Giants, it could be interesting. Now without Saquon, their defense is bad, but they do have at least some offensive weapons. And I think
who do they have?
Darius Slayton, Evan Ingram for however many games he plays, Golden Tate, Sterling Shepard. I mean, look,
Sterling Shepard's out. He's injured.
Yeah, but I mean, all these guys will be in and out. But they also play Washington twice. They play Philadelphia twice. Neither one of those teams looks that great. I don't know. I don't foresee the Giants ending up with the first pick. The Jets, I could. I don't know. It will be interesting to see what happens with it, but I don't think they're going to tank that badly. We'll see. But they could still end up with another quarterback because they don't have to end up number one. There's Justin Fields is going to be out there. There's the kid from North Dakota State, Trey Lance. So yeah, the Giants could be a short 2-year experiment with Daniel Jones. He's flashed, some games.
He hasn't looked bad. Yeah.
But then he's also, had just some terrible bonehead moves. So
somebody said he's the rich man's Jameis. Where he throws a ton of interceptions but then throws a bunch of touchdowns as well.
Yeah, maybe.
Would you go Jerick McKinnon or would you go Freeman as your number one pickup? If you needed to win, you need to win now. You need to win.
If you need to win now, then I think you've got to go. Like if you're 0-2, then that does shift it more towards McKinnon. Although, he's done great so far, but it's been on limited touches. Are they really going to up his touches that much? I'm wondering if Jeff Wilson's going to be the guy. I think it won't be. It won't be. I think they're both going to get touches with Coleman and Mostert both out. And if you go back to just looking back to last year, so Wilson had 2 games last year early on where he got the goal line carries before Mostert really came on. A couple of games in September where he had 2 touchdowns in back-to-back games in weeks in, I don't know what, I guess maybe weeks 1 and 2, Cincinnati and Pittsburgh, 2 touchdowns in each game, not a ton of yards. But if he's getting a couple of touchdowns, that's a 15-point stat line or something. So I wouldn't bet on it being like, you think about how much McKinnon has been hurt. I would not count on him, just getting like 2/3 of the touches or something like that. I think it's still possible that they use him in more like a explosive play type role. So I'm a little iffy on him. But if you need a win this week, I mean, like, I don't think Devonta Freeman's just going to walk in and, get the bulk of it week one. You don't know what his conditioning has been. At least like a guy like Adrian Peterson, when he went to the Lions, we're like, well, it's probably going to take him a while, but at least he was coming from Washington where he, we know he had the conditioning and all
been
that.
Practicing, he'd been conditioning. Who knows what Freeman's been, he's been eating, McDonald's on the side of the road. I don't know.
Yeah.
On
So
the side of the road.
because that's what happens when you're out of the NFL is you just walk along the highway aimlessly, waiting for a team bus to stop and pick you up. That's how it works.
That's good.
It's like go back like to the old like little cartoons where it's like the little stick over it's like a little stick over your shoulder with like the little
thing,
plaid handkerchief that's like tied up and you've got your stuff. You're just hitchhiking across the country waiting for some team, waiting for the Madden bus. That's it. It's John Madden, his bus.
The Madden bus didn't come by, but dang if the Giants bus did. And so we'll see. Ben says where. So here's my waiver wire list, top to bottom. Joshua Kelly for the Chargers. I think that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. If he's out there, grab him. I think he's only owned in 40% of leagues.
That's the guy who, if he's out there, that's the guy you get.
Grab him. Yes, grab him. Darrell Henderson, agreed. Gardner Minshew, interesting. He's with me on the Minshew bandwagon. Mike Davis, then Jerick McKinnon. Now, Mike Davis is interesting, especially for the 1 week play. Maybe 2 or 3. We don't know how bad that injury is for CMC. Mike Davis looked pretty sweet out there. He only got, I think he was only in there for he was only in there for the fourth quarter.
I didn't see how much he was in for. I just saw like he had virtually nothing rushing. It was just, all, yeah, right. Well, it was receiving. Like he caught like a crazy amount he caught like 8 balls, I think, in the short amount of time that he was in there. He only had 1 attempt for 1 yard, but he caught, see, I can't tell how many games that's for. This page doesn't want to load. Okay. So he caught, he had 8 targets, caught all 8 passes for 74 yards. So that's a crazy stat line.
He did really well. But the problem is I feel like the 49ers I don't know about this statement. You tell me, are the 49ers a better team than the Panthers? Because so far with all the injuries and everything, not looking great. Of course, we don't know if Kittle's going to be in. Yeah.
I mean, the 49ers, I think, have lost almost their whole defensive line. I mean, like literally because DeForest Buckner from last year, because DeForest Buckner got traded, Bosa tore his ACL. Didn't Solomon Thomas tear his ACL? Let me double check. I think let's see what it was. Yeah, he tore his ACL too. So the only one, so I mean that's like one guy left, and then I think D Ford. I don't remember where D Ford was playing for them. If he was playing,
well, he's with the Chiefs now.
No, he was with the Chiefs, and then he went to the 49ers.
Oh, well, he's not. Is he with the 49ers now? Well, he's not playing this week.
Well, right. That's what I'm saying. Is he got hurt? He had a back injury, and so I don't remember if he was playing that final like end spot or yeah. I mean, he's defensive end, I guess, unless they moved him out to like an OLB rusher or something. So that's basically like literally they lost their whole defensive line.
Whole defensive line,
and that's the strength of that team. So
it kind of goes to what people talk about when they talk about the, losing the Super Bowl curse or whatever. When you lose the Super Bowl, it's just,
yeah.
I don't know. It sounds a little superstitious to me. He also says Jordan Reed. Now, remember I said last week, when Jordan Reed is healthy, he's a beast. I remember the reason I remember that is because the fantasy footballers, I used to listen to them a lot. They used to say it's the rule 86. His number was 86. Rule 86 is if Jordan Reed is healthy, put him in. If he's not, obviously you don't put him in. But in other words, when he's healthy, he beasts out. And we saw that this week. And if Kittle is out again next week, I'm throwing Jordan Reed back in with a quickness.
Yeah. That'd be hard to like burn a waiver priority on him. Like with all the tight ends out there.
Yeah, that's true.
That would be tough for me on a guy who's probably only really useful while Kittle is out. Although it's possible, I was going to say it's possible that, they could use both when,
I just hope they don't do that as a Kittle owner.
Well, yeah, I know what you mean. But just like they don't have, depending on, we don't know when Debo is going to be back.
You're right. They don't have anybody to throw to.
They don't have. So yeah, that team, the 49ers could end up like having a disastrous
They'll
year.
get Trevor.
They could, if they got Trevor and then all that defense came back healthy and then the receivers had a year of, development and all that, like that would be a crazy team. But, you think about like that defensive line really is the crux, the defensive line in the running game. But if you don't have that defense to put you ahead in games, then you can't just, always run like they did before. So the 49ers could have like just an epic fall this year.
Jeez. Well, thank you. That's a good list, Ben. Thanks.
Yeah.
KEllisTalks says 6-man. Oh, he's in a 6-man league. He's got Lamar, A-Rob, Ridley. Oh my gosh. Henry, Mixon, Andrews. Nice. You got that Lamar Andrews connection. Jacobs too, and Metcalf. It's hard to tell in a 6-man league. That might be really good, but I don't know. You might be 1-1 because this week A-Rob had Lamar, A-Rob, Henry, and Mixon and Andrews had. You probably did not win this week. So as good as that team is, I don't think you won this week.
Yeah, Allen Robinson's off to a tough start. That's
yeah. Do you think that he'll bounce back?
I think so. But
trade candidate? Would you go out and trade for him?
If someone would give him up cheap, yeah.
Would you trade Mark Ingram for him?
Oh, absolutely. I'm not a Mark Ingram. That Ravens rushing offense is tricky right now. They're going to get yards, but it's Lamar plus Ingram plus Edwards plus Dobbins. And DK, Mark Ingram, he had single digit carries. A touchdown is saving him, but you can't even depend on touchdowns because week 1, they used J.K. Dobbins as the goal line back. So yeah, it's scary. I would trade Mark Ingram for I would trade Mark Ingram for a lot of people right now. Yeah.
I have more faith in him. I have one last question. Great job, by the way. Thanks, man. Thanks for tuning in, man or woman. Thanks, Squishy, Splishy. I got nothing. Am I giving up too much if he traded Mixon and Marvin Jones for Jonathan Taylor? No, you're not. You're giving up. Do
that deal in a heartbeat.
Yes, smash it now. Do it now. We need to.
If you're thinking of putting it out there, put it out there. If someone has offered it to you, immediately accept that.
Absolutely. Caedmon says, "I think so. Yes, do it." How will Devontae Adams being injured affect his fantasy points? The fantasy points for Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, Marcus, MVS, and Lazard. That's a good question. If Adams is out this week, I do believe we will see a surge of points probably for Aaron Jones. But see, then it goes like maybe Lazard, maybe MVS. It's hard to tell. MVS he in both games so far, though he dropped a couple, has had those long bomb targets from my main man Aaron, but it's just he's dropped a couple, and Aaron Rodgers hates it when his receivers drop it. I mean, I think he'll probably continue to go. It's only the third week, but he may go more towards Lazard as a go-to red zone attack if they get the red zone. I mean, Aaron Jones has been getting the touchdowns from outside the red zone, so he may just hand it to him. Who are they playing? They're playing
the Saints, I believe.
Are they playing the Saints? I don't think it's going to be an Aaron Jones week then.
Yeah,
that defensive line is stout.
Yeah.
I don't know. More likely, I think big guy out in the corners, maybe against one of those weaker corners. Lazard, maybe MVS. I don't know. That's a hard one. I think I'd roll dice with those two. I don't know. Aaron Jones, I don't think he's gonna. What do you think? Because so far, has there been anybody in these last 2 weeks to do anything against that defensive line? I mean, even Jacobs is having a rough time.
Yeah, Jacobs was bottled up a little bit. I mean, the Saints do have a good D line. Jones is. I mean, he's tough to bench.
I wouldn't bench him. I just wouldn't. I guess you just got to lower your expectations.
Right.
And he's a beast. He could do great. Are they at home? No, they're not at home, are they?
It's in New Orleans, I think. Yeah.
Rough times. What do you think?
I would say for specifically to like how it affects all of them, or
So do you think that any of those? Do you think that Valdez-Scantling is the one to target if you're playing somebody like somebody that has that defensive line? But then again, I mean, they've got some pretty. See, the thing is about their corners is they're a little bit too greedy and they go for the interceptions. I think someone like Valdez-Scantling could get behind them. I don't know.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, I don't know where Lattimore is going to be. Like if Devontae Adams is in there, Lattimore would be on him. Then where's he going to go? Is he going to go to Lazard? Is he going to go to? I don't love that offense as much on the road without Devontae, because I mean he's the clear number one. So I don't know exactly how that's going. I think it will affect him. Probably
Aaron Rodgers. Are you going to bench him?
I would not want to play him. Yeah, I would try to look for another option. I think Yahoo this week has him. They've still got him inside the top 10. They've still got him at 9. I think that's maybe more of a product of some other quarterbacks. Maybe, like Deshaun Watson's at Pittsburgh. That's a tough matchup. And maybe them just not trusting some of these rookies. 9 feels a little high for me on A-Raj. I think if you've got another option, I would potentially try to use that.
Yeah, it looks like you are going with. I just noticed we're playing each other this week in the
listeners league. Yeah.
Well. You're playing. Oh my goodness, you're slated to beat me by a lot. Roethlisberger against me. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So this guy, hey PJ Fleck, thank you for joining us. Julio, T.Y. Hilton, Melvin Gordon for Taylor and Godwin. It feels like a lot, but I'd rather have Taylor and Chris Godwin. I mean, you could drop Ty because, as everybody knows, I hate him. But Melvin Gordon's, he's good for like 15 points. Julio, if he could catch a touchdown, he might get up there into the double digits. What do you think?
I really like Taylor.
Yeah.
And I like Godwin even in that offense. I think Godwin's probably going to be, I don't think you're going to really lose anything much down from Julio. Because Calvin Ridley looks like he's really, becoming the number one option in that offense. And Ty will, I think, have some games. Judah has zero faith in him. My faith in him is dwindling on down, but I love that trade. Yeah, I would do that in a heartbeat if you're getting Taylor and Godwin.
Yeah. I mean, it might hurt. Nah, take it. Judy and CeeDee. I always wanted to call him CC. CeeDee for A-Rob. You get A-Rob? Yes. Smash it now. Do it now. What do you think?
Yeah, probably, depending on if you don't have like a true, if you've got a lot of depth, but I don't know. I mean, Judy's going to be that number one option in Denver now. CeeDee Lamb's the number two, seems like, in Dallas. So I like both those guys.
I think A-Rob bounces back, though.
I think he does too. It's just tough to go tell people to go trade for someone who's having Mitch Trubisky throw to him, but still,
that is tough. But who's throwing to Judy?
Right. Well, but if it's Blake Bortles, then
he'll get the garbage time.
He'll get the garbage time. Yeah, just like that year. Ironically, it could be like that year where A-Rob had that career year where he had like 16 touchdowns. It was just all like garbage points from Blake Bortles.
Yeah. Ben says, give Roto Hackers. Oh, thanks, man. Give Roto Hackers a like, subscribe. They deserve it. These guys do 2 shows per week. Dude, you get a t-shirt if I ever get around to sending it to you. Wow. They've helped me tremendously. Wow. That's awesome. Our hope is that you're not, and I think Ben would say this because I've seen him take our advice, but I've also seen him not, is we're not trying to tell you what to do. Don't just take our advice. We hope to walk you through the thought process, right? We're sitting here arguing about it and thinking through it. And hopefully you're able to sort of get a perspective and hear some of the information that you think, okay. Or another thing is it might spark some curiosity. I think that's the best thing, is that it would spark curiosity. We think like, wow, let me look into that. Let me look what defense they're playing, how let me look at some of the tape. Let me look at do some of the legwork. Don't let us just pick your lineup because we don't really agree on a lot.
Yeah, I think it's tough because I probably would make one of the worst commentators for or media personalities or something like that, just because really people gravitate to people who are like, do this is the right thing, and they sell you on the confidence of it, and that's just not reality. No one has a crystal ball. Some of the most famous analysts are just terrible at it, but they're more of a personality than they are a good advice giver, which is the technical term for that. But that's not true. Most of them are good at it, but you really just don't know. Like we always say, like for most questions we answer is like, what does the rest of your team look like? All these different things. So you really do have to just kind of use advice to, as a guide and not as a, like, this is the answer.
Yeah. Yeah. Just the thought process. And another thing is, I don't mind telling you about my sources of information. I love using, the fantasy football. What is it? If I had a brain, I would be able to tell you. But the Audible on Thursday nights with the fantasyfootballers.com, if you can look up the Audible Fantasy Footballers. They have, in fact, I stole their format. This is the format they use, and I'm like a stupider, better looking version of Cecil Lammy. And actually, I was thinking about this, and Jared's like a better looking. Actually, you sound just like their guy. I forget what his name is, Jamie, or I can't remember. But he's the doctor on the show.
On which show?
Fantasy Footballers on Thursday nights.
Oh, I gotta check it out now. Let's see.
Yeah, what is his name? Oh, I'm terrible at names, but yeah. Also, I like. Let's see, Harris Football. Check out Harris Football. I think he gives really good on YouTube. He's got really good breakdown on tape. Matt Waldman is one of the fantasyfootballers.com guys, and he gives a lot of good tape type stuff. Go check those guys out and just do extra good research.
Matthew Berry, his love-hate is I always end up agreeing with it. His love-hate doesn't really usually tell me I know. Anyway, we'll skip all that about Matthew Berry. But anyway, I end up agreeing with his love-hate a good bit. I think Andy Behrens is pretty good.
I do like Andy Behrens. He comes on the Harris Football. That's actually Harris's good friend, Andy Behrens.
Okay. Yeah, so, I remember he used to be with ESPN. He was good. So,
who else do you like?
I mostly just kind of pay attention to the rankings from Yahoo and ESPN. I really don't listen to a ton of. I do watch Yahoo's little morning show on Sunday morning. That's good about getting last minute updates and stuff like that. So,
just trying to see who that guy is. Oh, Gene Bramall. You remind me of Gene. You're like a younger, better looking version of Gene Bramall. He talks like you. It's interesting. Dr. Gene Bramall.
I'm afraid to look that up now.
Football podcast, the football guys. I think I might have called them the fantasy footballers, but the footballguys.com on YouTube. Check them out. They have and I listen to a lot of Pat Mayo too. But mainly for it's good advice, but it's a lot of fun times. All right, sorry. That was kind of a my league. I did want to say, Ben says you guys are real. I appreciate that, man. That's what matters. Thank you. Appreciate that a lot, man.
Yeah. Compliments are nice. I can see how people could get addicted to these. I want to get enough compliments that I get completely detached from reality. I want to get to that point where I believe everything I say, like every sentence that comes out of my mouth, every sentence that comes out of my mouth is just the most brilliant thing that's ever been uttered by a human being. That's how disconnected from reality I want to get. I want to get to that level of compliments.
Well, if you get to there, you're going to lose you're going to lose Ben, you're going to lose me. All right, so Gillies,
I'll gain a whole other audience though. It's I don't know if you've paid attention, but it's really popular these days. Like a lot of people really seem to love it. So I like you guys, but if I can just get millions of people, I might be willing to make that trade-off.
Okay. Well, let's see. My league has returned yards. Your return yards that count as points. Guys like Harris on the Saints is projected like 15 return yards or 15 points in general. Who's Harris?
I have not dealt with this. I'm completely out of my element.
I don't even know who Harris is. Who's Harris? I'm trying to think of Harris.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure who he's talking about.
Okay. Well, let us know give us a little bit more than Harris. I'm trying to think, but I can't. Oh, Harry, maybe Harry. No.
I don't know. He's gonna have to give a
N'Keal
first
Harry?
name.
It might be N'Keal Harry. All right. 10-team PPR, no super flex. All teams have 2 QBs. Okay, so it is super flex. Have 2 QBs. Oh, or maybe it's just okay. You have 2 QBs. Gotcha. You're 0-2. Team is Stafford, Moore, Diggs. So far, so good. Woods, A-Rob. So it's all right. Henry. Tight end Henry or running back Henry? Cook, I guess it's, I don't know. Cook, Myles, Sanders, Andrews, Hurst. You got a lot of tight ends. Wow. Hunt and Singletary. I think you're the one who asked him about all the tight end questions earlier. Trade Diggs, Singletary, and Stafford for Russell Wilson. I mean, Diggs is like one of your best players, dude. Who are your running backs? Singletary and Hunt? Singletary, Hunt, and Henry? Are they in order? I don't know. Let me know. What do you think, Jared? Can you make any sense of this?
Teams have 2 QBs. Stafford trade Diggs and Stafford for Russell Wilson. Diggs, Singletary, Stafford. Singletary doesn't really worry me. So I guess it's normal amount of wide receivers that you're playing. DJ Moore, Robert Woods, Allen Robinson.
Full PPR. I think Diggs is like, who are his wide? I mean, he's the best wide. Woods, I guess.
I would probably
Dalvin Cook. I see. Okay, and Derrick Henry.
Wilson can be a little up and down. That's, I guess, maybe what kind of worries me about that a little bit.
Will he be more up and down than Stafford?
Yeah, I think so. I think Stafford tends to be, if he gets going, he'll be consistent, but I don't know if he'll get going. I would probably do that. I would feel much better if it was someone like Kyler or Dak. But I don't know. I think Russ, I have a little more faith in him this season. I think they've got pretty good receivers, with Metcalf and Lockett. Some of those other guys, Carson's a pretty good receiving back.
I think you do it.
Yeah.
I think you do it. The only problem is you're going to be weak on wide receiver. He said he's got Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, and Myles Sanders.
That's a great running back core.
It's okay. It's PPR though. I don't know how, I mean, you're gonna be getting.
That's true. I forgot. Yeah. I mean, 2 of those 3, if Cook gets back to what he was, Dalvin Cook's worrying me a little bit because the Vikings, as bad as that defense looks, they may be playing from behind a lot, and he's getting like 12, 14 touches, not catching the ball a ton. I'm a little bit worried about
Diggs. You know what? I would trade one of these guys. See if he'll trade straight up Dalvin Cook for who's he trading for Wilson?
Yeah, maybe.
You've got a plethora of running backs. You don't need to get rid of wide receivers. You need to get rid of running backs. I don't see any good Woods is good. A-Rob is like, we're hoping he bounced back. Moore, you like Moore. I don't like Moore. I think Diggs is a hot commodity here. I would rather get rid of one of those like running backs. I mean, he's got Hunt too. Get rid of your least favorite running back. So, like, I bet you he'd take Sanders for Wilson, right? Maybe like Sanders and Singletary.
I mean, I don't know I don't know anything else about this deal. I don't know if he's been offered it, if he's just thinking about it. Just as is, I would probably do it. Singletary, I'm not really worried about losing unless Zach Moss goes down Singletary, I think, is just going to have limited value. And even if he does, I mean, he'd have pretty good value then, but it's just going to be capped by Josh Allen. Diggs I like, but I think Russ is going to have a year. And so,
yeah. All right, go for it. Go for it. All right, let's see. We got 1 or 2 left. Rest of the season, 4 points per passing TD. Matt Ryan versus 4 points. 4 points per passing. I'm going with Cam Newton, hands down. I mean, you're just going to get so much more rushing from him. And the passing, I mean, 4 points for passing. Is that normal? Is that standard?
Yeah. Yeah, it's standard in Yahoo. Yeah, I mean, the danger with Cam is he's putting himself in a lot of situations where he could potentially get injured. But the way that Patriots offense is looking right now,
it's clicking. I mean, he's starting to connect with what's his name, Edelman. So that could be really good for the offense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd go with Cam Newton. So you're saying Cam Newton?
I would go with Cam. Yeah.
It's close. It's closer than I'm making it sound.
Yeah.
All right. We're winding. Oh, yeah. So Ben said, Jared, your uninspired confidence mixed with unselfish rightness.
I like it. I'll take it. Definitely not the worst description I've ever gotten.
Judah is hard-hearted, attentive, and refreshing his approach to fantasy. Oh, okay. Hard-hearted. Okay, I get that. I'm hard-headed, I think, more. But the combination between you two is really good. Well, and AJ brings another added. He typically sides with you, but this whole thing started with me and AJ. We just he was a student of mine and he was like really good with football stats and stuff. I said, hey, let's do a fantasy football podcast. And then we had just doing another podcast with Jared and found out he liked fantasy football. I was like, this is cool. Let's get some info out there. But AJ brings a certain introspectiveness that I really appreciate. So thank you, Ben. Appreciate you tuning in. You really do get a t-shirt. If you can send me your address to the rotohackers@gmail.com. Eventually I'll get around to it. I owe Ryan one, I owe you one. I'll get to it. Maybe next year. But all right. So thanks for the input, guys, from DL. I hope it helped. We're muddling through it. I think it's getting a little late. I think both of us are getting a little spent. Ben, do you have any? No. So for those of you that don't know, we make a listener league every year, and by that I mean this year. And Ben and MathQuest are some of our better listeners, our most regular listeners, and they're in the listener league with us. AJ, just a smart dude who probably doesn't realize. Oh, he realizes. I used to be his teacher. He realizes it. He's a humble guy. He's a good guy. All right, I'm spent. What do you think?
Yeah, that's about all I got.
Yeah. Well, we'll be back on Saturday. Maybe give you some good pickups for some sneaky pickups that you can. I feel like my bench is looking a little bit. It's a little bit clearer. There's some guys I definitely don't mind dropping.
Yeah. I guess. I don't know. I still feel like things are kind of muddy.
Couple more real quick. Should I trade Derrick Henry for Joe Mixon? Yes. Oh, for Joe Mixon, Cooper Kupp?
unless you're just in a league where you're have nothing at receiver, and even then, I'm not sure. I would keep Henry.
I hate Derrick Henry, and I don't think I'd do that. Cup, it's hard to tell what Cup's going to do this year. He may just be nothing this year.
Still just an irrational dislike of Derrick Henry. Anyway.
Should I drop Hines for Freeman? I wouldn't drop Hines yet. I don't like Freeman. I dislike Freeman worse than I do Henry. But what do you think?
I think it depends on if there's somebody else, if you have anybody else, but I imagine Hines is probably going to be your best option to drop. I guess I would do it if Hines is probably your worst option, because I think Hines, we saw last week, it's going to come down to game script with him, you know.
Yeah, and they might be in some fewer winning games than we thought. I wouldn't drop him though. Let's see, Michelle for Kelly, yes, right? Yes. Josh Kelly, boom.
Yeah, absolutely.
He has AJ and Adams. Yeah, that's not great, buddy. They both get hurt, obviously. I would hold on. Keep Derrick Henry. Should I trade Jonathan Taylor? That already sounds bad. Kenyon and Galladay for Gurley and Tyreek. The answer for me is absolutely no.
Oh yeah, no.
So up and down. Gurley, it's hard to tell what he's going to do in that offense. Galladay is going to be great. He's going to be great. We just haven't seen him yet. Just ignore these first 2 weeks, maybe 3. I don't know. Kenyon's going to get better, and Taylor. Come on, I'm a Taylor hater, and I'm going to tell you right now, Taylor is going to be good this year.
Judah just hates good running backs. He hates Derrick Henry. He hates Jonathan Taylor. He was never in on Aaron Jones. It's just if there's a receiver out there or a running back out there that's going to produce well, he's just like, nope, I'm out on them.
That definitely gets Judah eats crow. All right. I think the appreciate it. Thanks. No problem, buddy. I'm in love with Taylor. Well, yeah, keep him, buddy. Keep him. All right. Well, that's it. Unless you have anything, I'm going to hit the outro because I'm spent.
I think I'm good.
All right. Good night. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks for Ben for all the sweet words.
Yeah.
And send us your address. We'll get you a t-shirt. All right. Bye, guys.